Hey, welcome back. So I am celebrating today because we just hit 1,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. Pretty awesome. So clink to that. Thank you. Uh, Full disclosure, this is actually just sparkling water. I can't really drink champagne because it gives me migraines, but it's symbolic. So thanks for following, guys. So today I wanted to talk about my favorite subject in the world, which is color. Probably the most frequent question that I get asked is, how do you choose the color for your cross stitch patterns? So today I thought I would take you through the choices that I made for one of my new designs, and that is Pretty Little Seattle. This is one of my Pretty Little City series, and if you know my work, you probably are familiar with them. They're sort of what gave me my name in the cross stitch business, and they are fairly complex in the terms of the number of colors used. There are usually around 25 different shades of floss. So I'm going to show you on a white background the colors for this design and talk about how I chose them. So with any color palette, you generally would start with sort of a hero color that is going to sort of make all of your other choices. You're going to base off of that first color. So with this design, because Seattle is known as the Emerald City, I knew that I wanted to use a lot of green, and that would be sort of the basis of the whole palette. And I also wanted the whole thing to have a slightly cooler temperature. Every city, I sort of do its own signature color palette, and a sort of a cool toned color scheme seemed most appropriate for Seattle. So I started with green, and then I basically based this on an analogous color scheme. And if you don't know what that means, analogous is three colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. So for instance, yellow, green, blue, blue, purple, red, red, orange, yellow, those would all be considered analogous. And that's always sort of a classic choice to start a palette with. So in this case, I started with my hero shade of green. Let me zoom in here. And then a blue and a purple. And this is a slightly more bluish purple than something like a really grapey purple. Purple's a hard color because it can read either warm or cool depending on the other colors around it, and I wanted to make sure that the palette had a cool feeling overall, so I went with this more periwinkle purple. And then I will start building out each of these colors and add a variety of light and dark colors on either side of it, or what we call shades and tints. And those will kind of help create a little bit more depth to your palette. If you just use all colors that are kind of have the same value on the color wheel, it's going to just be really hard to look at. Adding variety of light and dark of each color really adds dimension and helps you pull out specific details. So I start adding shades and tints of every one of my base colors. And then in this case, I also wanted to kind of get into more of a blue-green world as well. There's always water in these cities, or almost always, if the city is near water. And so these sort of teal sea greens are really good for doing waves and water. So that's my sort of basis of my analogous colors. And they're very pretty together. They always look good together. but they can be really boring if that's all you have. It just sort of all blends together, and you won't be able to pick out as much detail because it all kind of turns into a mush of similar colors. So that is where you then want to start adding in complements. And a complement is the color that is opposite on the color wheel. So for instance, purple's complement is yellow, blue's complement is orange. So I decided to use blue and orange as my complements, but obviously if I put in just the pure complements of orange and yellow, that would be a little jarring. It would be a little too much vibrance in the complements. So a trick is to just tone those down and do a complement that's just slightly off from the pure complement. So in this case I did this sort of mustardy gold yellow and then more of a rusty copper orange. And those really fit nicely in here, and they make it much easier to sort of pull out detail. If I bring in the design, you can see, for instance, this building. Here's a great example of complementary colors being used together. That's this sort of purple and this mustardy gold color. They just really work really beautifully together, and you can really pick out those details. And then I also usually throw in several neutrals, and in this case I did very cool grays because I wanted the whole design to sort of have in general, have a very cool contrast to it. And then just to show you the reason we use tints and shades, light colors tend to pop forward in a design, and darker shades tend to push backwards away from the viewer. So that is sort of a trick for creating depth and dimension, is to put your lighter colors in the area that you want to feel that it's the closest to the viewer, and your darker areas will push away and look farther away. So that is just a really quick overview of how I put together the palette for my pretty little Seattle. So there you go. That's a little peek into my creative process. I hope you enjoyed that, and I will definitely do more posts on color in the future because, like I said, it's my absolute favorite topic. So thank you again for watching and subscribing, and I will see you next time.